Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today. Going to go over a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get started. If you need closed captioning throughout this session, please use the CC button down below on your Zoom menu. There will be captions provided there for you. If you have any questions for Bern, we will do our best at the end of the session to answer them. Please use the Q&A feature that's featured in your Zoom menu as well. And if someone has a question that's similar to yours, use the little thumbs up button to like it, and the top ones will get answered at the end. If you have any questions for us, please use the chat feature for us throughout the entire session. And if you want to go back and view this recording later, we will have it posted on our website, and we'll post a link in the chat. It will be posted with the slides as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bern Melnick, our Chief Wellness Officer, who's going to talk about lessons learned from Centenarians. I don't know if I said that right, but that's okay. I will pass it over to Bern now. So thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks, David. How many of you would like to live to be the golden age of 100? Sounds a bit intimidating, but I put a proviso to that age. That's live to be 100 with a quality active life. There are now over 97,000 people over the age of 100 living in the United States, an increase of 58% in the last 2 decades. Our country ranks 11th in the number of centenarians. So if you want to up your odds of living to 100, the best place to live is on an island. That's what the data is showing. While the centenarian population is small in comparison to the entire population, these people provide insight on how to live long, quality lives. So data that's been gathered nationally from a health and retirement study suggests that centenarians are generally healthier than non-surviving members of their cohort. That's good news. They reach 100 with not many chronic diseases. 18% reach 100 without disability. And this is so optimistic. 55% who reach the age of 100 have no cognitive impairment. So some of you may have read the Blue Zon book. This particular researcher, Dan Buettner, went all over the world looking for people who live to be 100 and doing research on what characteristics they possessed. What he found were the centenarians moved more, sat less, they had an optimistic mental outlook, they ate healthy or wisely, and they were socially connected, which he calls the right tribe. So what makes a centenarian? Centenarians engage, and this is data-based, in the power of 9, making movement a natural part of your day. So again, sitting less, standing more, moving more, even in small spurts. Remember, 11 minutes of physical activity a day, we can all do that, really does improve our cardiovascular health. Having a big picture dream, a vision, knowing your sense of purpose. People who have purpose and passion because they're aligned with their dreams live on average 7 years longer than people who don't have a big dream, purpose, and passion. Prioritizing stress relief. Chronic stress truly is a killer. And we all need to learn to regulate that stress. Eating only until we're about 80% full, eating a largely plant-based diet. Drinking, if you drink alcohol, in moderation, and that's 1 standard drink a day. Connecting with your community. That is super, super important. That's being part of the right tribe. Putting family as a very high priority and choosing social circles that support you to engage in healthy lifestyle behaviors. So if we would all consistently engage in the power of 9, we would substantially up our odds to live to 100 and not develop preventable chronic disease. Because right now, we are living in an era where 6 out of 10 adults have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 people have 2 or more chronic diseases, yet 80% of chronic disease is preventable with just a few healthy lifestyle behaviors. So I want to share this data from the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study. What the data showed is if those people adhered to 5 low-risk lifestyle-related factors, it prolonged their life expectancy at age 50 by 12 to 14 years, compared to U.S. adults who adopted 0 low-risk lifestyle factors. And those 5 factors were not smoking, staying in a healthy weight, engaging in physical activity, eating a healthy diet, and consuming moderate daily alcohol, defined again as 1 standard drink, not the size of the alcoholic beverages they serve in Las Vegas. But another study showed only 4.4 to 6.3% of adults in the United States engage in these 5 leading health behaviors. The more we do these things, don't smoke, get our physical activity in, drink in moderation if we drink, get sufficient sleep, which is at least 7 hours a night. If we do those things, we can decrease premature death, we can prevent chronic disease, we can improve quality of life, and experience for our nation substantial economic benefits. So the good news is we do have an evidence-based formula for how to prevent chronic disease, how to prevent premature death. That's the good news. It's under our behavioral control. We get to make the choice. Do we do these? Do we prioritize them every day? In Ohio State, we want you during your work hours to engage in these healthy lifestyle behaviors. But as we all know, the past 2.5 years during the COVID-19 pandemic has been very character building. Stress is at epidemic levels, along with depression and anxiety. And people have attempted to cope with COVID with unhealthy lifestyle behaviors. We've seen increases in alcohol use, declines in healthy eating and physical activity. So again, we've got to prioritize a little bit of time. All our Buckeyes at Ohio State every day to do some good self-care or do something that brings us joy. Well, the CDC really promotes prevention, and they really advocate to eat and drink healthy, move more, sit less, don't smoke tobacco, get regular checkups, including your screenings, know your family history, and be aware of changes in your brain health. I do another lecture on the relationship between cardiac health and brain health, because if we're in good cardiovascular health, chances are we're also going to be in good brain health. Many of you have seen my evidence-based formula based on research to prevent chronic disease. You're seeing common themes from the power of 9, what the CDC recommends, and this data. Again, physical activity. Start, if you haven't been exercising, with just 11 minutes a day. If you only eat 2 fruits and veggies a day, set a goal the next 30 days. I'm going to increase it to 3. Bottom line is, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. But the key is make the commitment to get a little bit better at one of these lifestyle goals. Write it down, put it where you can see it every day. And if you fall off the wagon one day, give yourself grace, show yourself compassion, and get up the next day and start again. I don't know how many of you have ever taken this life expectancy calculator equation test. It asks 40 quick questions related to your health and your family history. It takes about 10 minutes to complete. Check it out. I did this life expectancy calculator and I was super happy because it predicts I'm going to live to the age of 96. Now, some of you know I have a terrible cardiovascular family history that I can't change. But what I do to offset, to buffer the bad genes that I inherited, I make sure I'm engaging in healthy lifestyle behaviors. We also know stress, depression, anxiety, again, is a mental health epidemic right now. We are seeing 3 times anxiety disorder rates, 4 times the depression rates we saw in 2019. Remember, if you're experiencing anxiety or depression that interferes with your functioning, your concentration, see it as a strength to recognize it and to get help. As I mentioned, mental health and heart health are really connected. If you're carrying high stress, you're gonna probably be suffering from pre-hypertension, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Anxiety disorders are associated with a 24% increase in the risk of stroke. We have fabulous evidence-based programs. We have fabulous counselors at Ohio State. Again, I encourage you, if you're suffering from anxiety or depression, recognizing it is a strength and seeking help before it reaches crisis. Well, we all know, everybody has always said, if you're born with resiliency, you're going to develop less mental and physical health problems. We've got research that shows resilient people do experience less chronic disease. It's a misperception, though. Many people think I'm either born with resiliency or I'm not. You can develop it, strengthen it over the course of your life. I recommend, if you haven't taken a resiliency scale, go to this website at Everyday Health. There's a valid and reliable resiliency scale there. It will give you your score across 9 resiliency dimensions and tell you what you can do to improve your resiliency in those areas that you score less on. Well, at Ohio State, we've got a wonderful cognitive behavior therapy-based, evidence-based programs that can help you build these coping cognitive behavioral skills that works to decrease stress, depression, and anxiety. In this program called Mind Strong, we teach people the key concepts of cognitive behavior therapy. How you think relates to how you feel and how you behave. In the next 30 days, if you've never done this skill, I encourage you to practice it. You'll see how much better you feel when you do it. We have 6,200 negative automatic thoughts every day. The majority are negative. So it's important that when you experience a change in mood, you feel angry, depressed, stressed, or anxious, you want to stop and say to yourself, what was just going through my mind? Is that thought really true? Is my thinking helpful? And do I have the evidence to back it up? Chances are the answer to those questions will be no. So the key then is to turn that negative automatic thought around to a positive to feel emotionally better. Well, about 30 years ago, somebody gave me this excellent advice. Wake up every morning and read just 5 minutes in a positive thinking book. Every morning when you wake up, you can put it by your toilet, you sit down, you start reading, good stuff going in, not such great stuff coming out, but you set your brain for more positivity during the day. Even if you don't feel like engaging in physical activity, reading in a positive book, do it anyway. That's called behavioral activation. Do these things even if you don't feel like doing them, because you'll reap the benefits after. Learn to stay present in the moment. As you look at this slide, is your mind full of stuff all the time? Or are you present, fully engaged in every minute? Worry about the future, guilt about the past are the two most wasted emotions that we have. So if we can learn to break this mindful scenario that so many of us do, we would experience so much less worry, stress, and anxiety. And a good exercise to learn mindfulness is turn your head to the left, slowly move it to the right. Concentrate on finding 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 things you can taste, and 1 you can smell. Also, remember to take and give a dose of vitamin G for gratitude every single day. We know a daily dose of gratitude improves mood, heart health, optimism, sleep, and blood pressure. And if you can get into the habit of taking 3 big abdominal deep breaths using the 4-7-8 technique. When you're stressed, you're going to lower your stress, lower your heart rate, and lower your blood pressure. The secret is 4-7-8, breathing in slowly through a count of 4, holding it for a count of 7, and breathing out slowly to a count of 8. So take just one of the behaviors that I've talked about today. Make a commitment. In the next 30 days, I, Burn Melnick, am going to increase my physical activity from, say, 15 minutes 3 days a week to 20. If you fall off the wagon, again, give yourself some self-compassion. It's okay. We all fall off the wagon some days. The important thing is to get back on. And from the Blue Zones, I just really want to conclude my talk today talking about purpose, passion, having a big dream. If I could be your fairy god person today and give you any dream you can accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years, what are you going to do if you know you cannot fail? If your work is aligned with your dream, your purpose, your passion, you are going to have such energy. You're going to wake up on Monday and say, I'm excited to go to work today. When we don't have a dream, when we're not aligned with that dream, our energy goes down, our motivation goes down. So again, knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 more years of life expectancy. We're never too old to pursue our dreams and our passions. This 105-year-old graduated, was so excited to finally get that diploma. The last story I'm going to tell you today was about an 88-year-old man who almost choked to death. After he choked, he said, I'm going to invent a device that if I'm ever home alone again, I can perform the Heimlich maneuver with my Save Life device. That 88-year-old man walked in my office, asked me to get him evidence behind this device. I ended up being recruited to Arizona, left the project in my team's hands. 4 years later, my assistant said, there's a guy from Rochester, New York on the phone. His name is Lou. He insists on talking with you. I picked up the phone. I said, Lou, you're still alive. I'm so excited. He said, Bern, your team never finished getting me the evidence that I needed. But I now have a patent on this device. I have a manufacturer in China that's going to manufacture it. And Bern, I really need you to get me the evidence now behind this tool. He was successful at 92 years of age, getting this Heimlich maneuver device on the market was sold on Amazon for years. Bottom line is, we're never too old to pursue our dreams because people don't typically regret what they did in life. They regret what they didn't do. So the skills builder for this talk today, join us for the next 30 days for the 155 Buckeye Eye Opener Challenge. Every morning when we get up, let's practice 1 minute of gratitude, 5 minutes of reading in a positive book or listening to a positive podcast, and 5 minutes of movement. Well, thank you for joining us today. Please complete a brief survey of the presentation and join us next week to hear Shannon Carter when she talks about mapping your route to hopes and dreams, finding your purpose. Thank you and have a great rest of your week. I'm happy to stay on for another minute or two and answer any questions.
Thank you, Bern. If anyone has any questions, please throw them in the Q&A. Otherwise, have a nice rest of your day.
Okay, great. Everybody leave the webinar now and at least do 5 minutes of walk if it's feasible for you right now. Take care and stay well.